Hello, my name is Marley and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about books that I would like to read for September. No promises though. I would like to participate in the Magical Readathon this month that is hosted by G over on Book Roast. I will link the announcement video in the description. However, to describe it very shortly, essentially the idea is that you are a student at a university or school in a magical realm, and you have to pass each semester, and to pass you read certain books. Now, I usually don't take it as seriously, I have to be honest. I don't think I've ever completed the entire TBR once, because usually it's around, I think you can also do like 4 books, but I usually do, I started with, The Alchemist or something. I started with a character that required you to read a lot and I never finished it, but I like to have the options. And then I changed to Moon Warden last year because the amount of books that you would have had to read was a little smaller. And I tried to complete the TBR and it still didn't. And to be quite honest, I thought about changing it again, but I don't really care about the competition aspect of the readathon. I know a lot of people do, and if you do, that's fine, it's just not for me. I do like, however, that there are prompts that G gives you to choose your books from, and I like the prompts a lot, and it does give me an incentive to finally read some books that have been on my physical TBR for years that I just never read because I just don't pick them out otherwise. So I still like to do it. Just don't expect me to finish anything here. Because as you might have realized from my last video, I just don't like to pressure myself into reading a certain amount of books. Anyway, with that being said, we are going to treat this as a very soft TBR. I will be moving once more because for some reason I always move in September, just as I did last year. And I don't know how much time I will even have to read because I will be moving. I don't know if I'll be finished with my bachelor thesis by then. I don't know how much work my internship will be, so, I just don't know how much time I will have. However, I also can only take with me a restricted amount of books because I will have to travel with my little trolley. So essentially, I will just show you the books that I will be taking with me to Berlin in September. I will probably be back here at the latest in somewhere in October because of some birthdays that are coming up. My brother's birthday is already at the end of September, and I don't know if he's celebrating, but I will be back here at some point, and my books will be staying in this room in that time. With that kind of long introduction being said, I already picked out some of the books, and then some we'll be picking out together. So for the readathon, you always have 3 prompts per course, but you don't always need to complete all 3 prompts. There you can get to certain qualifications which are ordinary, qualified, and distinguished. And then you essentially choose the prompts that you have to get to the certain grade. G explains it way better in her video, just if you're interested, watch that video. I have to get an ordinary in Elemental Studies, which is just 1 book, and for that I would have to read a book with water on the cover. I already chose one, Le Jour de mon Abandon by Elena Ferrante. I think it was originally published in Italian, and the English title is, I think, just The Days of My Abandonment. I think they just translated it word for word. There seems to have also been a film. I just looked it up because I wanted to know what the English title was, and apparently in 2004 there was some film. All I know is that the protagonist is being left by her husband after 15 years of marriage, and she has 2 children and a beautiful apartment in Turin apparently. The blurb is in French, which I guess I could try to translate it. Olga, 38 years old, 1 husband, 2 children. A beautiful apartment in Turin, a life made up of certainties and little rituals. 15 years of marriage. One April afternoon, 1 sentence cuts into pieces her existence. The man with whom she wanted to grow old has become the man who doesn't want her anymore. The novel by Elena Ferrante takes us on a journey. I know what it means, I just don't know the terms in English. Takes us on the journey to the borders of our mind or something like that. My first language is neither English nor French, so the translation might have been a bit rough, but that's essentially what it's about. She's being left by her husband, and now she has to build up her life again. There's water on the cover. She seems to be drowning in it. It's also relatively short, so I think that even though I don't know how much time I'll be having, this should be at least something that I would gravitate towards more than a rather long book at the moment. The next course I'll have to take is astronomy. We need a qualified for that, which means that we have to read 2 books. The first one should include a person with an invisible illness. We will be looking at the stack of books in a little bit and see if I can find anything, but the only one that I could come up with that I already own is A Little Life. And I'm kind of planning on reading that in a video, so I don't want to read it this month. I would also rather read it when I, know how stressful my life will be the next half year as well, because it's quite big book and apparently very emotional. So I would like to wait with that a little bit. And I don't think I have anything else with an invisible illness. So if I don't find anything, this will be pushed to the back of the month. And if I don't complete the TBR, I want to read a book with a person with an invisible illness. I do have one fantasy book where there's a character that's going mad, but I don't... If I get a prompt like this, I would like to read a book where the invisible illness is actually part of the story, and in that story it's more of a background thing. Then to get to the qualified, we would have to read a book from a genre that you don't usually read, and I did find something for that already. I would like to read Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. Interestingly, even though I'm not afraid of trying out different genres, and even though I've read a lot of fantasy, so you would think that science fiction would be the next logical step, I've only ever read 2 books of the Murderbot series, which are very small novels, and 2 books of the Saga series, which are graphic novels. And then somewhere in the past 8 or 9 years, I once read a book that strays in the direction of science fiction, but it's not hard science fiction, if you can call it that. So I would like to read Leviathan Wakes. This was very popular on BookTube for a while, I think, at least in the science fiction space. As far as I know, in the story, humankind has strayed outwards to the universe. We've colonized the universe. And to be honest, I don't really know more about the plot. I'm just thinking if I want to read the back or if I don't want to read the back and just go in blind. Okay, so we follow at least 2 people, Jim Holden and Detective Miller. And Jim Holden finds a ship, the Scopoli, and apparently there's a secret on there somewhere. And now people want to kill him. And then Detective Miller is looking for a girl, which leads him to the Scopoli. And the rebels sympathize are Holden. Interesting. So there will be some aspects of rebellion on here. I do like my political fantasies. Maybe I like political science fiction as well. Then the next course we have to take is restoration. We also need a qualified for this, which again means 2 books. One is a single point of view book. I will be reading the book that I got in London for this, A Prayer for Owen Meany by John Irving. It's about a boy who kills his best friend's mother with a baseball ball. That's a sentence. And he then becomes extremely religious. And it seems to be a lot about faith and finding faith, maybe losing faith, who knows. It doesn't really say a lot more in the back, to be quite honest with you. It is written in second point of view, but it's always from the same person, as far as I saw in my flip through. There doesn't seem to be a change of voice in here, so this will be what I'll try to read for the single point of view. It is, however, kinda longish. It's 720 pages long, so no promises on finishing this one. But I already got like the first 2 pages just to see if I could get into it, and I got into it really quickly, like into the writing style, even though it only got 2 pages. So I'm optimistic that I will like it at least. For the next prompt, we have to generate a country and then pick a book by an author from that country. And we can do this 5 times, as in we can generate a country 5 times and then pick a book from whichever country we want. I've decided to just go with a generator that will generate 5 countries, because that's just easier. If it gives me like US, UK or Germany, I will be taking the easy way out. If it gives me a country of which I already own a lot of books, I will be taking that. Okay, so we do a Readathon here. So we have, well, that's, so we got New Caledonia, Puerto Rico, Bonaire, St. Eustatius and Saba, the Solomon Islands and Ireland. The only thing that I think I might have something from is Ireland, because the other ones seem very, I mean, Puerto Rico is a little bigger, but the other ones are kinda smallish. So we are going to see in a little bit if I have anything from Ireland, I guess, first, because that's honestly the one that's most likely, and I doubt that I have anything from the other countries. If I don't, then this will also be pushed to the back, and then I'll see if I either get a book or if I have been thinking about getting a library card in Berlin as well. I just have to see if it makes sense cost-wise. For the last prompt, we have to roll a dice and then find a book with the number of pages. Essentially, if we roll a dice with 1 and get a 1, then it's 100 pages, 2 is 200 pages, and so on. And then if you roll a 1, it's like 150 pages. I think that's also fine. I think that's how it works. I will look that up again before I upload this video, but I think if you roll a 1 and then it's like 150 or 170 pages, that's still a 1. Anyway, fun fact, looked for a dice everywhere and I didn't find one. Because apparently, like, we don't have board games in this family. So we're just gonna have to do the phone again. Which is honestly a lot less fun than an actual dice. So I have to click on go, I think. 300 something. So we'll be going over there as well for that. That's also the last prompt. So let's see what we can find. I had to redo that prompt because I got it wrong. The bracket is that when you get a 1, you read a book with 1 to 100 pages. When you get a 2, you read a book with 2 to 200 pages. So I would have to read somewhere between 200 and 300 pages. And I chose, I already filmed this part again, but my SD card decided to stop working, or I think it's an issue with my laptop. I have to figure that out. But that's why you didn't see me do the choosing part. This one has 280 something pages, and the book is essentially Trevor Noah, who is a US, well, he's a South African, he comes from South Africa. I think he might have been, he might be a citizen of the US now, but he is a comedian who lives in the US, and he is especially known, or was especially known for his, I forgot what the show was called, but it was one of these late night shows that he hosted for a few years. He stopped, I think, last year, and he's a very funny guy, and also he is the son of, I think, a white woman and a black man, or maybe vice versa. He was born during apartheid, which means that he was not supposed to exist, which is where Born a Crime comes from. For the prompt with the author from one of the 5 countries, I did not have a single book from an Irish author. I might be taking a book that I already get with me, if I can find one. I think there should be some there that were from Irish authors, but either way, I will push that prompt to the back as well, just like the prompt with the person with an invisible illness, because it just makes it easier for me, and also I already have 4 books and don't know if I will finish them at all. So we're going to push the other prompts to the back of the month and see if we can finish these 4 books first. I think that should be quite a good amount, considering I didn't really read it this year yet. So we're just gonna take these 4 books, and if I finish the 4 books and there's still time left in the month, I will be completing the other 2 prompts somehow. As I said, I don't know how much time I'll be having to read or honestly do anything else next month. So if you don't hear from me for a while, that's probably the reason. But until then, thank you for watching, and we'll see each other hopefully very soon.